just get the topics. I'm very, very well organised for these podcasts.
Oh.
We still haven't decided on a title, I don't really think. I can't remember, did we? No.
Well, we've got like the Puppet Productions podcast, but that's sort of like a working title at best.
Yeah, it does feel like a bit of a mouthful, though, I have to admit.
But we've got the plosive alliteration.
Yeah, I feel like that's a key part of getting a good title in for a podcast, is it has to have good alliteration, or at least be very...
Or like some literary technique to make it memorable.
Yeah, it has to almost be musical, in a way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, hello, welcome to the Two Unemployed Men podcast, with your host, Unemployed Man number 1.
And his co-host, Unemployed Man number 2.
And guest appearance of some cool guy who makes these two schmucks look really silly.
Guest starring some employed guy, the outsider.
Oh dear. But they just come on the show and they rag on us for not having a job.
We just get roasted for half an hour a week by a different employed person.
So yeah, I work at Applebee's and I got my job within 2 weeks. How the hell did you losers not get one? I'll say right now, having never really done job hunting until recently, it is a lot trickier than I thought. I will definitely say, or rather, it's you get less replies than you would think.
Okay.
Like, you kind of led with the expectation of you'll get told if they don't hire you. But
yeah.
They don't, which is... Also, I feel like I look at my CV and it's like, wow, the education system is fucking worthless on a CV.
Yep. That's the problem with, like, mandatory education till you're 18.
Yeah, because...
It's like someone that would have done it voluntarily doesn't get any benefit from it.
Yeah, pretty much. And even, like, college diplomas, they're kind of, like, limited. But I guess, yeah, that is...
Yeah.
Actually, it's not mandatory up until you're 18, is it? I think you don't have to do college.
You have to do something. You have to do, like, an apprenticeship at least.
That might
Although,
be it.
that said, my friend didn't, and nothing happened.
Yeah, I don't think there's... I think it's secondary school is, like, the absolute... Like, you have to finish this. In case there's any Americans listening, secondary school would be like... would it be like freshmen's, I guess? I don't know, 16.
Yeah, college is the equivalent of, like, junior year and senior year.
Yeah.
Which comes after secondary school. So it's... I don't know what they call it. It's like... freshman, sophomore... I don't know.
Yeah.
You can probably figure it out from what we've said.
Or yeah, or Google it as my to quote my favourite lecturer. Just Google it, and it's like what a well spout of wisdom right there.
Yeah, and in the words of the great late filthy Frank, in this day and age, ignorance is a choice, and some people still choose ignorance.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not wrong. It's like oh god, what was it? Nope, I lost my train of thought completely there.
Okay.
Yeah, something that I want to bring up in the podcast that I'm not sure you'll be able to relate to, George.
Okay.
It's a physics thing that, well...
Oh boy, I did do A-level physics for a year.
Oh, same here. I dropped out of it because I got a D.
Yeah.
But,
I got a U.
Oof.
The guy laughed at me when I re-enrolled.
Oh, who did you have?
I don't know. I haven't seen him since. Or
what did he look
prior
like?
to that?
Was he
just like kind of, like man, probably about like.
Was he chubby?
About 40 years old, brown hair, glasses.
Oh, okay. So,
like a bit of stubble.
Oh, he's not the same physics teacher I had in college then. We used to have this guy called Pete.
Oh, you mean teacher or?
Yeah.
I was talking about the guy that laughed at me.
Oh, was he not a teacher?
Oh, no, I had. No.
Oh, what a dick.
I had Kevin as my teacher.
Oh.
Who was the ginger guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I had some guy called Pete. I'm not going to say his last name because God forbid he ever finds out what I've gotten up to. But like, what was it? I liked Pete. He told me I was a scrub for my graphics card that I had in my computer once.
Oh, nice.
Because he just...
That's good. Any teacher with that kind of would use the word scrub is good in my book.
Well, it was because he just got a 1080 to play the new Batman Arkham Knight, and
oh boy.
And he was so excited to run it at a solid 60 FPS. And the next day, I just asked him "Hey, how was that game?" And he was just like, "Oh, shush." It's just, how does it feel? But no, but in all seriousness, the thing I was gonna mention was I have a friend who does aerospace engineering, right?
Okay.
And for one of his projects, he and his class basically, they had to build planes, little model planes. You couldn't pilot them, but you'd just strap an engine on them and they just go and do their own thing.
Okay.
And one guy, so I think you understand, when an aeroplane pitches up too much, it stalls, right?
Yeah.
Well, what apparently happened with one of the guy's planes was he strapped rubber bands to the wings and the fuselage, which is the body of the plane. And what would happen any time it stalled was the wings would keep going up, and the body would dip a bit, so it would stretch the elastic bands, and then snap back up. And by doing this, any time it stalled, it would just keep going upwards. So apparently it just, all you could hear was as it just flew away, and people were just dumbfounded. It's well, I guess that works. That's kind of what I think I was trying to say with the whole weird laws of physics thing. Because I remember, just thinking, is this just the real-life equivalent of clipping into a wall? Where you just abuse the physics engine? I don't know.
Yeah. I like that. I like how kind of weird stuff can come from physics classes.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's it seems like maximum Zane is to be had there.
Yeah. Did you ever do the paper plane thing?
No. What was it?
You put a paper plane between two fans and it just stays in midair.
Oh, I never did that, but I would have loved to.
Yeah, we just had that going in the class one day.
I mean, the problem with that is, don't you need the plane to be well designed so that it doesn't spin out or something?
Yeah, and it's kind of I need to be very careful around it because any kind of draft from walking past or something will knock it off.
Yeah, I know that what was it? I know that there was a thing a while ago. Some people probably seen this. It was a video of a bunch of fans laid out really carefully in a room, and you just launch a paper airplane into it, and it would fly around continuously.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of miss physics.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I think the reason...
Too bad I didn't give a shit towards the academic part of
it. Yeah, it's kind of... See, this stuff's fun, but then it's time to do statistical thermodynamics, and you just...
Yeah, I find academia ruins a lot of
it takes joy.
The enjoyment of a subject.
Yeah, the thing is it doesn't even teach it very well, necessarily.
Yeah.
I feel it's antiquated, but at the same time it's you need a standardized system, and I just think that we haven't come up with a better standardized system, which is why it hasn't changed.
Yeah. We haven't even kind of tried to reinvent the kind of methods of schooling in a while.
Oh, they definitely haven't. It would have changed by now. I mean,
yeah, it's still training factory workers basically.
Yeah,
that's all they do.
Yeah, the only thing they've really done is anything that's convenient, but
yeah,
or cost effective. But beyond that, it's could it maybe cost us money? Then maybe it's not worth doing. It's it's a little bit upsetting, to be honest, but whatever. It is what it is. Hopefully this will be the thing that makes our podcast dated.
Oh boy.
They'll look back and be wow, the education system used to exist.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's... Oh god. Then we really would have completed our transition into the cyberpunk dystopia that we're on our way to.
Yeah. Or maybe a cyberpunk utopia. if like we transcend the need for an education system, if you're going to be optimistic about it.
Yeah, I like to think that I'm just entirely wrong whenever I'm being pessimistic. Because the thing is what gives... I don't know, what gives...
Does that just mean you're like optimistic? If you're aware that, if you like think that pessimism's wrong, when you think something pessimistically and you like kind of, and you just assume it's wrong, that's optimism, isn't it? Or like...
Well, it's more that I have a lot of pessimistic thoughts, and I'm like... I like to believe that those aren't true, because they have just as much not validation, those thoughts that I'm having that are negative make just as much sense as my naive optimistic thoughts. Or they have just as much validity. Because they're coming from the same place, so... Yeah. And I'm just interpreting the information differently, so...
Would you say you're more of a glass half full or glass half empty kind of person?
I don't really know. I guess I'd say half full, if I had to pick.
Okay.
Because half empty just seems a bit of a weird thing to say.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's like... I'm kind of that way as well, but I'm not sure whether that's just like the optimistic mindset talking that makes that sound weird.
Yeah, I think it's context as well, because the problem with that, it's like... If I'm more stressed out, then I might start being more pessimistic. So at that point, I would be like, "Oh God, it's half empty." I don't know. I think that stuff like optimism and pessimism is very much dependent on the context of the person.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like if you've been on a good, happy streak and you've had no reason to suspect that things might go wrong, you're gonna be optimistic. I don't think there's anyone who is just miserable for no reason. I think there's always...
My dad is.
Oh. I mean, there's probably some underlying reasons.
Oh.
Be it like psychological or something that happened a while ago, or just...
Like having children.
Jesus Christ, George. You gotta steer it away from that. Good grief.
Oh.
It's too much, George. It's too much weight. I'm not strong enough to lift all this weight.
You're gonna carry that weight.
Gotta carry that rock. Anyway, let's move on to something a bit more interesting and upbeat.
Yeah, what you got on that topic list?
Oh boy, I can finally talk about good old 7 deadly sins.
Oh no,
I can
it's
finally
time.
get that out of my system. Jesus Christ.
For context, listeners, he's been going on about this for like 2 weeks now, building up to this thing on the podcast.
The worst part is that I feel like a lot of that sort of vitriol is gone now, but I still have a little bit left. So it's
okay.
For context, 7 Deadly Sins is a currently very popular anime. It's gonna apparently be getting a season 3, just to like really indicate how far along in the saga of that show we are. And it's like, I watched it with a few friends a few days ago, like the first episode. It was just so exceedingly boring. Like the first episode, because it's meant to be the build-up. They're trying to like give context, right? But the way they wrote it feels like they're doing a chore. Where they're like, oh, I guess we should get this out of the way so that we can get to the fun, flashy bits. But the thing is that I watched all of season 1 and like the first episode of season 2. The flashy bits aren't very good. It's like they're not very well animated. Like the only thing that I can really give the show credit for is that some of the character design is good, but then other bits of character design are just very forgettable. Like it's just such a forgettable show in a lot of ways, aside from it being exceedingly bad. But the thing I don't understand is why it's so popular. Because it's not like Naruto or something where the universe has a deep lore, or like Dragon Ball Z where it has like really satisfying power fantasy sort of thing, where it's like some schmuck getting stronger. Because the thing is with the protagonist is he's strong from the very start. He's strong enough to deal with any problem from the very beginning. I just don't see how that's fun. It's like, at least in something like Fairy Tail, you could be like, oh, well, they kind of get stronger over time. They kind of do training. They kind of work for it. I don't know. It's... What do you...
I'm trying to think back to, like, because I watched it when it first aired, along with some friends from secondary school. I'm trying to think, like, I was never massively keen on it. My friends, like, were into it. They all, like... I think it was kind of like a power fantasy for them. They were talking about how cool, like, Barn is. They like Barn. Like, the undead guy.
Oh, Mr. Immortal.
Yeah.
I guess he was alright. I mean, the thing is that shows like that, the side characters are generally more interesting. Like they said, Barn, for example. He's a Mr. Immortal man who has the ability to steal things, which is fine. I still think it's a little bit excessive given that... I don't know. But he can still feel pain and there's some, like, catches to him. That's fine. Make a show around someone like that. Why give your protagonist the literal ability to counter anything? That just seems... Oh, but if he doesn't counter it, then he'll get hit by it. Okay, that's nice. The problem is that he's got the goddamn spider sense, and he never seems to, like, mess up a dodge, or if he does, it's intentional. So you never feel like he ever loses in any, like, even the smallest way.
Yeah, it's like... That feels like it's written like a video game power, where, like, the player has, like, an opportunity to mess it up every time, but, like, when it's, like, in, like, a more traditional narrative medium, and it's just, like, written by a guy, it's, like...
It's boring, because
yeah.
There's no tension, because it's like, oh, look, it's like, oh, this guy's winding up a punch, but let me guess, Mr. Protagonist Man is going to catch the punch and say some quippy one-liner before the antagonist goes, ooh, and explodes. Oh, computer went in sleep mode.
Oh.
I don't know why. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I don't have the energy in me. Or not the energy in me. I just don't have.
Has Seven Deadly Sins been kind of like treading that same water for 3 seasons now?
Yeah.
Is that like...
Basically, it's just been like. The thing is that they're not. I think my biggest issue with it really is that it's less a story of like a character growing and developing, and more of this character got magically stronger, except he didn't because he always had that strength. He just doesn't use it for some reason until now. It's like, I think a good example was, what was it? I think it was Full Counter, or it was something which he could use, where it's like, if he takes a certain amount of damage, he, like, counters better. And it's like, why, he could always do that, and also, why not just use the normal one? I don't know, it would be nice if you had, like, moments of tension, where it's like, maybe he's struggling a little bit. Maybe he's having some trouble. But if it's just... They give...
It kind of feels like... It feels like weird fan fiction. It feels like kind of the... It feels like it was like a 12-year-old's idea of like kind of their cool self-insert character.
It really is, actually, now that I think about it. Because it's got that sort of like weird whimsical feel to it, and it's like the antagonists are very two-dimensional in their goals, but they even do the thing where it's like haphazardly like, ooh, I have to make them maybe a little ambiguous so I'm not being too overt. I am the Holy Knight who kills children. And it just doesn't work very well. That's...
Oh yeah, because there's that whole like weird anti-hero angle to it as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like the 7 deadly sins versus the Holy Knights.
But the Holy Knights are super bad people, because they kill people mercilessly, George. They're such horrible people, but this ragtag group of people who are doing vigilante justice, which is completely flawless, by the way, totally and utterly flawless, even though for some reason people think that they're pieces of just crap, they're awful. oh, I think what was it? I think there was some line in the first episode where a character was like, "Oh, you're the most heinous, horrible people in the world. I need your help." It's like, what the fuck? You don't like go, "Oh, there's a criminal problem lately. Let's hire the criminals." Just seems like a...
Well, they're not even criminals at that point, are they? They're just like...
Well, they're wanted.
They've already kind of like established the... It's not even like liquid morality in that show, it's just like inverse morality. It's just got it... Like... The imagery you'd associate with good in the real world is bad, and bad is good. Like, they are, for all intensive purposes, the good guys.
Yeah.
And the Holy Knights are the bad guys. There's no, like... There's nothing more to it than that one sentence, really.
Yeah, it's like... The only way you could have any kind of ambiguity is if you maybe looked at the characters without any kind of context. But even then, if you look at the antagonists, they're designed in such a way as to look like awful people. Like, what was it? The one in... I think, to bring up a good example, dude in the first episode with his goddamn evil eyeliner and mascara. Like, what was that all about? Why? He's a knight. Why would he have that? It just seems unnecessary. I mean, I wouldn't normally mind it, but the problem is it's trying to paint him as being somewhat morally ambiguous, but then he immediately turns around and is like, "I'm gonna start killing my own men." It's like, why? There's no benefit to you for doing this. Like, I don't know. I think you said you tuned out, didn't you?
I was making the intro for this podcast. During that.
Fair enough. For context, George, what happens at one point is that this Nightman, right, he was meant to save a princess, but, like, he was meant to capture and bring her back. And this guy, this absolute goddamn genius, his approach to this problem is, she's running away, better kill her and say it was an accident. It's like... What do you gain from doing that? You're gonna get in just as much trouble, if not more trouble, than if you were like... if you just failed to catch her. And the thing is that I'd at least maybe you could make a case of like, well, okay, he's gonna try and be subtle about it. No, he literally fells an entire forest and fails to kill her. Because she just ducked. And it's like, oh, so even if you had succeeded, it would have been blindingly obvious that you did it, because you knocked out an entire forest. It's just so dumb. It doesn't make sense. That world would not function. Like, it's just, you can't suspend your disbelief when it comes to that.
It kind of reminds me of, like... Well, not that it reminds me of, it's clearly inspired by the Conviction arc of Berserk. Which is like kind of the same thing of like, well, like, it's actually done successfully in Berserk. They're like the kind of morally ambiguous hero and the morally ambiguous order of like religious knights. And then you like, but like the point of the Conviction arc is like kind of you realise that like they're all bad people.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it takes like a long time to kind of get to that point, and it's kind of like multifaceted, the stuff. It's like, it's not just as one-dimensional as like Seven Deadly Sins was, because I tuned in for like 2 minutes and I kind of saw the knights being evil and thought, oh, they're evil. There's no more to it than that. It doesn't go anywhere from what I've seen.
Yeah. It irks me a lot as well that the protagonist doesn't have any reason to be good, but he does it anyway. It's not even because he enjoys fighting. He much prefers to get drunk, apparently. But he's just...
Boy.
He chooses to be the bastion of good, because why not? He just does it for no reason. He doesn't have any real motivation for what he does.
It's like he's playing to a D&D alignment.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's just arbitrarily doing things for no good reason, because they have to. Otherwise, it wouldn't work as a show. It'd be a bit weird. I don't get it. It's silly.
Okay, so have you got that out of your system now? Like...
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had to force it a little bit because, like, I just... Once again, I've been stewing on it for 2 weeks. Yeah. Like, plenty's happened in 2 weeks, and I'm just not. I'm not an angsty kind of guy. I don't
Yeah.
really. Well, I only really sat on it because I thought it was fun. It was fun to think about and be like, how is this successful?
Yeah, it's fun to hate stuff sometimes.
Well, it's more you want to figure out what it is and like you want to learn about it. I actually find I get more invested in things I dislike than I like because
Yeah.
it's much more fun to pick apart. So,
Mm.
I mean,
I think a lot of the Seven Deadly Sins' success is just kind of like because it's an anime that's been distributed well. It's like it's on Netflix. You can just kind of watch it.
oh, it is on Netflix.
And some people just like, yeah, some people just, I think it is. Some people just like the idea of anime and will watch anything that's anime
Haha.
for the sake of it being anime. And I think that's like the limit of its appeal.
Haha. I like the Japanese cartoon.
Yeah, it's an anime for people that like the idea of anime.
Well,
Would you say you like the idea of anime?
I don't have anything for or against it. I mean, it's what it is, I guess. That's like saying if I have
Okay.
anything against or how I feel about like Western animation.
Yeah. Because a lot of people kind of like identify as anime fans and say that like they just like kind of anime intrinsically, which I think is kind of weird. I agree with you on like taking. Well, I assume you kind of have the same mentality of like taking each show on its individual merits as opposed to kind of attributing anything to the, like, attributing your enjoyment to the wider zeitgeist of the medium.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't think you should give something a free pass just because it's a medium that you enjoy. That seems a bit silly. It's like saying it's like how there are people who identify themselves as like actually I guess Disney fans is a bit more specific, but it's a bit weird.
Yeah, well, with Disney fans, it's like that's like kind of a. It's just like that. It's loyalty to a brand more than anything. That's like this person made something I like, so I want to watch the next thing they made to see if I like that in the same way.
Yeah.
That's kind of like with. I guess like the best example of that kind of thing is just like music. If you like someone's previous album, you'll probably like the next album because it's like iterating on a set of ideas.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's just because I personally don't like it, and I'm a close-minded idiot, so I can't. Well, no, I can kind of get where they're coming from. I just personally dislike it, or not dislike it, just don't care for it much. We're coming up on the 30 minutes, by the way.
Yeah.
So
Should we end it all and leave forever?
yeah,
What's done is done. It feels so bad, but once was happy, now it's sad. I'll never love again. My world is ending.
Is that a goddamn My Chemical Romance?
No, it's an Evangelion reference.
Oh, whoops. I don't remember a lot of Evangelion because it was confusing, but I liked it.
Yeah, you should probably watch some like analysis videos of it.
I'm not too interested. I'm very when it comes to things like that, I'm very passive. I'll just sort of watch it if it's there
Okay.
and be like, that was nice, and then be done with it. I'm not a very deep thinker on that stuff.
Okay.
I'm not a very deep thinker in general, but it's like, particularly shows and stuff, I don't tend to get very invested unless it's really good. Like, I think the only show I really cared about theory stuff for was like JoJo. And that was mainly just centered around like the end of part 3, where it was like, how does the world work and all that. Because there's a lot of stuff that you might not like think about at first. Like, okay, Dio can throw a knife in frozen time, but it'll move. So does that mean that if he were to like, I don't know, touch a person in the right way, he could bring them into frozen time for a while? And have them be consciously aware? Because it's obvious he can make things interact with each other in frozen time. I mean, Jotaro even manages to start a fire in frozen time. So chemical reactions can happen, which means that a brain could work. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, that's like
It's
that's a weird thing to like explore.
yeah.
I guess that's interesting.
There was also the thing with
That's
Crazy Diamond and like is his power the ability to rewind time? Because he doesn't like heal things, he reverses things.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if he were to like somehow spread that effect out across a large enough area, could he just rewind time for that area? I don't know. There's a lot of theory crafting stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I think that's about it. Do you want to
Okay.
plug your stuff, George?
Let's just put it all in the description, I guess.
Yeah, just go check in the description down
Check
below.
the description for our stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in again, and have a great day.
See ya.
Yeah.